back to another edition of DXB Today, but not just any old edition. It's our World Government Summit special. Day one has been concluded at the summit site, but the conversation continues right here. So on to our next guest. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome into the studio. I mentioned a little bit earlier on, didn't I, that we are blessed to be joined by three guests who've all made huge impacts on the sustainability scene, not just here in Dubai, but the region as a whole, through their work, through setting up companies like Goonbook and the platform they're in, to leading multinational organisations, truly international brands in the fight against sustainability. One of those is, of course, HSBC Bank Middle East. An absolute pleasure to be joined by the Managing Director of Sustainability at the HSBC Bank Middle East, Sabrin. Sabrin, thank you so much for being with us. Really kind of you.
Thank you for having me.
And we're blessed to have you with us here today to make up this all-star cast on the sofas tonight. B, thanks for your time at what must be a seriously busy time of the year for you. World Government Summit coming hot off the heels of COP28. We've just got our breath back. The dust has settled on the Expo site. But how important was that? Because how often did we mention at COP about momentum and keeping that momentum going? No big surprise that within 4 weeks we're talking about it yet again.
Absolutely. Look, I think when it comes to momentum and continuity, it's key to credibility, right? And that's something that the presidency and COP28 has been very, very focused on. And that's what climate and sustainability is all about. It's about partnership, it's about continuity, it's about medium to long-term planning. So I think it's wonderful that World Government Summit has come so close after COP28, because it allows us to continue that momentum and really unpack some of the key outcomes.
Did you get any rest?
Very little, very little. There's a lot of makeup on this face, but I'm getting there.
It's great to have you.
I know you had a huge role at COP28, and since the World Government Summit is talking about sustainability, what are some of the key features that were discussed at COP28 that are taking over at the World Government Summit as well?
So some of the things that the COP28 presidency will be really unpacking at the World Government Summit include things such as the UAE consensus. So for example, that was one of the big outcomes and the wins of the UAE. And it was a big negotiated outcome. So essentially it means that every single nation agreed to this. And it's historic. It's one of the most consequential outcomes since the Paris Agreement, something the UAE is incredibly proud of. But now we need to get into action, right? What are the practical steps to really take it forward? What are the perhaps barriers as well? Because we know that there are a lot of geopolitical tensions as well. So we'll be talking about that. There's also going to be a session on health, because there were a huge health outcomes as well that we were able to achieve. There's going to be a session on finance and financing the green transition. As many of you know, the UAE launched a $30 billion climate fund with $5 billion that will be allocated to emerging economies. So there's a lot that we will be doing really to take advantage of the fact that we have world leaders, we have government leaders in the room who are our partners in delivering the UAE consensus to the world.
As you being part of the COP team and putting together such an impactful event, this was the first time that the Green Zone was so big, and you saw 500,000 people coming in. What is the role of the Green Zone, and how does that has an impact actually on people, on behavior change, on awareness?
So the Green Zone, as you've rightly said, has never been this big or this busy, and we were blessed with having Expo as our site, which allowed us to be as creative as possible. So the Green Zone is often for non-negotiators, right? So it's the non-diplomatic zone, but really brings together the real economy. These are the movers and shakers, they're the entrepreneurs, they're the business leaders, the private sector, the civil society, students, and they really are the heartbeat, in my opinion, right, of the world. You do have the diplomats, the negotiators in the blue zone, but we had roughly 90 to 100,000 people in the blue zone, and we had 500,000 people in the green zone. So it shows you the scale of impact. So some of the decisions that are made in the blue zone are implemented in the green zone, but also the green zone provides the pressure point, right, of the whole of society coming together and demanding action and accountability from their leaders. So for us, I think it was incredible to see the voices of the globe coming together here in the UAE, which you don't often see. We became the epicenter of the world for those 2 weeks. And for somebody who's worked in this space in the UAE for almost 20 years, it's a moment I never thought I would see.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sabrin, I want to know a little bit more about the transition you're making for people to get ready for different vocations when it comes to job roles, and things are going to change dramatically.
Yeah.
AI is coming on as well. I know you're looking a bit more into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, it's a huge opportunity, but it can also be quite scary, right? Every industry will have to transition, and that's what you call it. It is almost the fourth biggest transition. You know, you've had the industrial transition, now you have this green transition coming. And either you see it as a threat that jobs will disappear, or you start investing in this new economy that's coming up. So we've seen a lot of training and development that's already happening across tertiary institutions, schools, but also organizations. We're all reskilling and repivoting for jobs of the future. And what was interesting is at COP28 there's a huge focus on a just and orderly transition. So it can't happen too fast in a way that we leave people behind. Because there are obviously some countries and some industries that do want to move too fast, but their workers just don't have the skill sets or the support network to transition with them. So there's a lot that's happening. There's institutions, there's governments, there's a lot of funding that's going into that sort of transition globally. But to ensure that it's just and orderly and people have access to the right resources is absolutely key.
We're running out of time, but just in sort of conclusion on this one, blessed to have you here at the end of day one. Why? Because we talked a lot about the achievements of day one and what could be achieved over the next couple of days at World Government Summit as well. What's your sort of message to the viewers out there for takeaways? A lot of people will be tuning in going, World Government Summit, really?
Yeah.
Really, guys? What's your message to them?
Look, my message to anyone who's either attending or interested is that there's important decisions being made, but also a lot of knowledge sharing that's happening, right? And it impacts all of us. So educate yourselves, also ensure that your voice is heard, and ensure that your viewpoints are expressed to your spheres of influence. I was recently in Rwanda, and I attended a Global Impact Summit. That's something I wanted to do out of my own sort of interest. That YPO, an association for business leaders that organized, and I met amazing social entrepreneurs who are doing, who are disrupting the system. They're not waiting for governments to change things, right? I met a social enterprise who are redefining what non-profits, how they operate. And they are now based in the UAE. And there's another non-profit who actually won the Zayed Sustainability Prize in 2019. And they're connecting rural communities across Africa and Asia to the grid, so that they've had no energy security. So there's two ways of looking at the problems of the world. Either we complain or we take action into our own hands. And I think the World Government Summit, COP28, these are all great starting points for us to really see what the talks are all about, but it also should inspire action, right?
Well, the good news is, for two individuals, in fact for all individuals, but especially you two that have given so much to these great get-togethers in recent times, I've recognised the trend as well, okay? So Expo was 6 months, COP28 was 2.5 weeks, World Government Summit is 3 days, the next one's going to be 2 hours.
Absolutely. We're just becoming more and more efficient, right?
Yes.
We'll send a tweet next time. It's not even a tweet. We'll and it'll be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrin, for joining us on today's show. Till now, we've got the XP60 Lane.
We
over
do
to you.
indeed. We do indeed. Now, Tatiana, I want to know more about you, and so does the audience. You're a fascinating person. So we're going to do a DXB in 60 quiz. We're going to do 60 seconds on the clock, and we're going to just get to know you a little bit more in 60 seconds. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, let's get it. Now, if you weren't working in sustainability, what would you be doing?
Cooking.
Nice. Your motto in life and in work?
Let's do it.
All right. Favorite eco-friendly hack?
A filter under the sink to avoid plastic bottles.
Yay. Good effort. A self-sustainable superpower you wish you had?
Being able not to sleep.
I like your answers, actually. The most used app on your mobile device?
WhatsApp.
And if you could meet anyone for 24 hours, hang out, have some food, who would it be?
Sheikh Zayed.
Who?
Sheikh Zayed.
Ah, wow, that's an amazing one. I actually saw him once. I didn't meet him, but I saw him
Really?
once. Yeah.
Amazing.
Drove past me. And why Dubai?
It's the land of opportunities. My family is very happy. I'm very happy.
It is indeed.
It's a no-brainer. When you think about, should I move? Should I go somewhere else? When you start looking at the different pros and cons, it's a no-brainer. You stay here and it's amazing.
Thank you, Tessa.
Thank you.
Thank you to you both, in fact. Thanks for both joining us during this very busy time of year. Continue your extraordinary work, and we are in awe of the achievements thus far. So thank you very much indeed for both joining us
Thank you so much.
this evening. We're not going anywhere. We're staying
We're
here,
staying.
right? We've still got to. We're only giving stuff away next, though. Prizes galore coming your way. Stay with us.